I was in Las Vegas, in the depths of the desert, on a mission to drink myself into oblivion. The air was thick with the stench of cigarettes and desperation, and the neon lights flickered like dying embers of a once great city. I stumbled into a bar, my eyes darting around like a man on the edge of a cliff. The bartender greeted me with a wry smile, and I knew I was in good hands. I ordered a double shot of gin and slammed it down like a man possessed. The burn was sweet and hot, like a lover's kiss. And I felt myself slipping into a familiar haze. The music was loud and abrasive, the people around me a blur of colors and shapes. I ordered another drink, and then another. And soon, I was lost in a sea of intoxication. Hours passed, maybe days, and I found myself outside, stumbling through the streets like a madman. The sun was rising over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. I collapsed on the pavement, my head spinning, my body shaking with the tremors of a man pushed to the brink. But even in my darkest moment, I knew that I had found something special, something raw and pure and true. For in that moment, I was Coop Cooperson, the drunken master of the spoken word, the voice of the Iconoblast podcast, and nothing could stop me.
Iconoblast, we put the past on blast, hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast.
Welcome to the Iconoblast podcast. This is the show that takes a look behind the public facades of famous icons to show you why you can never take anything at face value. My name is Cooper, and joining me once again is the Big DF machine. I don't know how early on in the episode I should cuss, but Joel Benner.
Hi, everyone.
So we're doing another episode that you wrote because I've been caught up with a whole bunch of other shit that I'm trying to get done, as usual. I've always got excuses for not writing shows.
It's an episode about alcohol.
Your favorite thing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things.
First thing that could come to mind that I wanted to write about was alcohol because I was hungover from alcohol.
Yeah,
I realized
I had a solid 2-day hangover after St. Patrick's Day this year.
I think we both did, Coop. It was a good time.
It was a good time. I had a lot of fun. Got to hang out with some good friends, and I'm disappointed that you couldn't make it, but I understand why you didn't make it. You had better places to be and better things to do.
I don't know if it was better, but there was drugs, women, and alcohol involved in both our situations.
That's always fun. For me, it was primarily just the alcohol.
That was the fun part?
No drugs for me this year. Just little boozing, hanging out with friends. Maybe there was a girl there.
Maybe Advil.
Maybe a little bit of Advil the next morning. A whole shitload of ibuprofen, actually.
Well, there you go. That means drugs and alcohol.
Dude, on Saturday I was so miserable all day. Well, we hung out for a little bit on Saturday when I was on my way back home.
When you came, dude, you looked like the walking death.
I felt like I was dying. I'm 38 goddamn years old. I can't go that hard anymore. Yeah, if I go that hard, I have to have the whole weekend to recover. But the fucked up thing is, I had to go straight back to working on this studio that I decided to open for some goddamn reason. It's almost open though.
I was hungover until like late Monday. Like it was bad. I was struggling at work. But I got it done. If we would have done the show Sunday or Saturday, it would have been fucking funny, but it would have been awful.
Yeah, I don't know. From my perspective, the way that I felt on Sunday especially, because it was 2 days after St. Patrick's Day, and I was still so hungover that if we did a show that day, it wouldn't have been funny. It would have just been sad. Like, oh man, Coop's still trying to party like he's in his 20s. What a loser. I'm
colorblind, and so it's hard for me to see skin tones. And when you walked in, you had different color skin. You were so pale. And there was like
I'm already
a layer
extremely
of sweat.
pale, and I was so pale, and my eyes were puffy. My wrinkles, if you can believe it, my wrinkles were even more prominent, which surprises me because I've got a face like an old leather handbag.
Yeah.
I've had a long, hard life. You know, at this point, I
still look great.
I accept it for what it is.
I think we're still good-looking dudes.
One of us maybe. I don't think it's me.
I think we could still pull tail.
If I didn't have the mustache, I don't think that I'd have anything going for me. Because I've realized at this point in my life, I don't want to say that I do horribly with women. I mean, I have a horrible track record, but I do what I can. And I've realized, this is actually a realization that came to me just over the last maybe month or something like that, that if it weren't for bad fathers, I would have no love life. Because it's all those bad fathers raising these daughters desperate to have some sort of father figure, and I just happen to have daddy vibes for some reason. And it works out.
I think the mustache...
No, that's not entirely true.
Yeah, I think what it is you're not actually healthy, but from a distance you look healthy. As you get closer, there's a mustache. And then when you get real close,
to be healthy very well. I can act healthy at times. For short periods of time, I can act healthy. Like I'm
I always say,
you're
like a machine. You've treated yourself so bad that if you just are healthy for one day, your body's back to perfect.
The funny thing is,
it has quick repair control.
It seems like you're right. I recover like Wolverine as long as I stay away from the alcohol.
Yeah, drink for saying that during an alcohol show. But yeah, it's the good looks, the mustache, and then to get close, all you got to do is talk.
Yeah, God bless my genetics.
I've seen you drop. I've seen you drop all the pants. I've seen you drop all the pants in a bar. It was all the dudes, but still, when you talked, all the pants dropped.
Hey, once I figure it out a little bit better, a little bit more practice, I think that I might be able to translate that to women. But right now, I'm just grateful that at least dudes are willing to fuck me.
Yeah.
So as Joel was saying, we're going to be talking about alcohol today.
Yeah.
I mean, a little late for St. Patrick's Day, but we don't want to be like all those people jumping on the St. Patty's Day bandwagon, talking about St. Patrick and shit like that.
Fuck all that.
He was a Roman. He wasn't actually Irish. St. Patrick's Day isn't an Irish holiday. Big fucking deal.
I'm glad you said that.
We're going to be talking about the tradition behind St. Patrick's Day, and the tradition behind St. Patrick's Day is alcohol. And alcoholics. For millennia, alcohol has captivated the human spirit, stirring passions, inspiring creativity, and lubricating social bonds. From the earliest days of civilization, alcohol has been a staple of human life, a versatile elixir capable of quenching thirst, celebrating triumphs, and easing sorrows. It has been worshipped as a gift from the gods, vilified as a scourge of society, and sought after as a symbol of refinement and sophistication. Through the ages, the story of alcohol is one of humanity's most compelling and enduring narratives, a tale of ingenuity, perseverance, and the enduring quest for pleasure and connection. And apparently that was written by a drunk scientist who was later fired for being drunk at work. Again, in case anybody missed it, this is an episode that Joel wrote, if you couldn't tell already.
Hey, there's some actual facts.
I'm sure there are. So how is alcohol made, you say? Well, let's drink and find out. I think literally everybody knows how alcohol's made. Well, okay, cheers.
Drink. I didn't know.
Cheers to that. You didn't know?
How it was made? Like, not in detail. No, I thought it was interesting, so I dropped it in there.
Did you think that they, like, milked it from some sort of animal you've never heard of?
Grows on trees or something like that.
Well, I mean, technically you're not wrong. It can grow on trees or on bushes or...
You can make it
roots,
from fucking
tubers.
anything. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I knew that you could make it from...
The prison population...
Like grain and rice and grapes and shit like that, but the list is quite long. Anything that rots, pretty much.
Yeah, anything with sugar in it. And then you need a little bit of yeast, as far as I know. So I don't know how they make Pruno in prisons, because I don't think that they're handing out packets of brewer's yeast or anything like that, but they make prison toilet wine. Ah, that's what it is. They just stick their little weenies in the sauce and let that ferment.
Gross.
Ah, dick wine. Alcohol can be made through a process called fermentation, which is a natural process that occurs when yeast or bacteria metabolizes sugars and produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. So do we have that to blame for global warming?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. All right, let the world burn, I say. Fermentation usually involves mixing sugars such as glucose from fruits, grains, or potatoes with yeast, which consumes the sugars and converts them into ethanol, or alcohol, and carbon dioxide. Did you know that I just saw a video about this the other day, that the alcohol that is the least likely to give you a hangover is a combination of high-grade ethanol, specific, like just a really high-grade liquor mixed with orange juice.
Ooh.
So that's why the bromosas that we drink whenever we have a hangover work so well.
And
They're
they
hangover
don't
liquor.
increase the hangover.
And they get you drunk again.
Wait, so what hard liquor is the best then, if that's the case? Vodka? Vodka orange juice is your best bet?
Maybe like it seems like screwdrivers are probably a good bet if you don't want to have that bad of a hangover, because ethanol mixed with orange juice is the least, or it's going to give you the easiest hangover. Just up from that is beer, and the very worst thing that you can drink for to give yourself a hangover is brandy, or any type of liquor that has a high sugar content to it. So brandy,
isn't that interesting?
red wine.
That the sugar is what makes liquor, but it's also the worst to give you a hangover.
It's what gives you the worst hangover.
Interesting.
So I'm going to be switching up the things that I drink, because goddamn, the hangovers. They're
That's
too much.
Dude,
at
that's
this
why
age.
I just stick with one thing and no mixers. I mean, whiskey does have just a little bit of sugar in it, some whiskeys, but if you stick to one thing, no fucking cocktail bullshit, you're usually fine.
Clear alcohol mixed with orange juice.
There you go.
Seems to be the best bet. The fermentation process requires warmth, time, and careful control of conditions such as pH levels. That sounds like a relationship. It takes warmth, time, and careful control of conditions such as pH levels. That's how you avoid yeast infections. It also needs temperature and oxygen levels to ensure the desired end product is achieved. Once fermentation is complete, the resulting liquid known as mash, not the TV show about the Korean War.
I wish they
always
still
hated
called it
that
mash.
show.
I would drink mash just because it sounds cool.
Can you just? I thought mash was what they have to distill to make alcohol.
Yeah, but like
So you can't. It's like
really
it looks like
shitty
oatmeal.
whiskey, they used to call it mash.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should go back to calling it mash. That sounds a lot cooler. I mean, whiskey still sounds cool.
Whiskey sounds cool.
I guess the reason that they changed the name is just to avoid being associated with that shitty TV show.
Why do they?
Which I hated that fucking show.
Maybe that's just what they called it, and then when they got better at it, they were like, "We need a new name for this, whiskey,"
Yeah, because that goddamn TV show came out.
and ruined everything.
Made the word
and they're all
made the
sober.
word mash not cool anymore. All right, where did I leave off? Distillation involves heating the fermented mash to create steam, which is then condensed to produce a liquid with a higher concentration of alcohol. Different types of alcohol can be made depending on the starting material, the type of yeast, or the bacteria used, and the method of distillation.
Bacteria.
For example, I had heard of yeast being used for fermentation, but not bacteria. So that also supports the idea that when they make Pruno in prisons, they just stick their dirty little wieners in it. For example, wine is made from grapes, beer is made from grains such as barley or wheat, and spirits such as whiskey and vodka can be made from a variety of materials, including grains, potatoes, or even fruits like apples. I like hard cider. Hard cider is one of my favorites.
That's made from apples.
Alcohol has played a drunken role in many significant parties throughout history, both positive and negative. And here are a few bangers. Actually, if you want to hear about one of the best bangers in American history, go listen to episode 100 about the Great American Bender.
It's on the list.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Number 1, prohibition in the United States. Probably one of the... So this is something that frustrates me about current drug laws. Alcohol is one of the most damaging drugs on the market, not just to the person that is consuming the alcohol, but to society in general. It causes more problems than almost any other drug aside from heroin or opioids in general. And it's the one that's legal. Like you can go to any gas station and buy booze. can't have weed, can't have shrooms, depending on where you
That's
live. Some places
changing.
you can't have it. Slowly but surely it is changing. When was the last time you heard of somebody overdosing on weed or like getting super stoned and beating the fuck out of their wife?
It doesn't happen.
You don't really hear about it. And if you take if you take a bunch of mushrooms, probably the worst thing that you're going to do is just sit there and stare at a wall because it looks like Egyptian hieroglyphics, which is what I did the last time that I did mushrooms. So, prohibition in the United States. The Prohibition era in the United States from 1920 to 1933 was a result of the temperance movement, which sought to ban the sale and consumption of alcohol in order to reduce social problems such as domestic violence and crime. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution made alcohol illegal, but it was ultimately repealed in 1933 due to widespread public opposition and the rise of organized crime. And that's another thing. All these drugs that they have outlawed right now, all that's doing is it's doing exactly what prohibition did to organized crime. It's giving criminals the means to create a very, very lucrative business. And that's how you get Scarface. Do you want Scarface? Because that's how you get Scarface.
So is it good or bad?
Yeah, it's good for the criminals. I mean,
And for cool movies.
I'm talking
great
about
stories.
I'm talking about Al Capone Scarface, not the Tony Montana Scarface.
But that's what like inspired it, or inspires gangster movies and drug movies that are
for sure. Okay, so yeah, we kind of do have to have that criminal element to it, or else we don't get good movies about criminals.
That's right.
But overall, the older I get, the more I lean towards just legalizing and controlling everything. You know, you legalize all the drugs and then you regulate it so you know that they're good quality and you tax it and you make money off of it because people are going to do it anyway. There's no reason that we shouldn't be getting some money from it. Even Uncle Sam needs his cut.
That's right.
Although fuck taxes.
But I mean, you don't think Uncle Sam's getting his cut anyway?
Oh, through the ATF, and the CIA, the DEA. Yeah, the CIA especially. They're like one of the most prolific drug runners in America. Also a bunch of cocksuckers. Don't kill me for saying that.
Drink.
What, for insulting the CIA?
To the CIA. No,
yeah.
to them.
Fuck the CIA.
Sweet for drug movies.
Next up, we have the Boston Tea Party. And yeah, funny thing is there wasn't a whole lot of tea being drank at that party. It was primarily just a bunch of drunk fucks doing some fun shit. In 1773, a group of American colonists, disguised as Native Americans, boarded British ships in Boston Harbor and dumped over 300 chests of tea into the water. The event was a protest against British taxation policies, but it was also fueled by the fact that the British East India Company, which owned the tea, was granted a monopoly on the tea trade and was seen as a threat to American merchants.
Damn.
Unsurprisingly, many of the participants in the Boston Tea Party were reportedly drunk on smuggled Dutch gin. Oh, gin.
Gin's probably the least hangover.
It is. It's in terms of hard liquor, it has the lowest likelihood of giving you a hangover, but it also tastes like a homeless person's asshole.
I spent like 2 years of my life only on gin, and it was true. I never had a hangover.
God.
It's
The
an
flavor
acquired
of
taste.
gin it's just slightly better than Malort. And Malort is one of the worst tasting things that I have ever put in my mouth that was not a part of a human's body. The signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the
Episode
Great
100.
American Bender. It is rumored that many of the founding fathers who signed the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, were drunk on Madeira wine. John Adams, in particular, was said to have been very fond of the wine and to have imbibed heavily on the day of the signing. Those guys were essentially signing their own death warrant if the revolution failed, so I'd probably be drunk to do that too. Mm-hmm. Or if I just had to live back in the 1700s, I'd want to be drunk all the time. It was a fucking terrible place to live. Worldwide. Next up, we have the Russian Revolution. I mean, any moment in Russian history is going to involve alcohol.
True. Wasn't there an episode you wanted to do?
I don't think that Russians have ever been sober.
That's true. Wasn't there like is this that episode you wanted to talk about? I'm not sure. I know there was like some revolution that They partied so hard that they drank all the alcohol. That was something else.
Oh, no, that was when they were celebrating victory in World War II. When World War II ended, the Russians drank so much vodka that they actually drank the entire supply of vodka in Russia. That is an insane amount of vodka.
That's awesome.
I mean, good Lord. Can you imagine how much vodka there is in Russian reserves and the populace drank all of it?
Love it.
How are there any Russians left? So in 1917, Russian peasants and workers revolted against the government of Tsar Nicholas II, leading to the establishment of the Soviet Union. Alcohol played a significant role in the revolution, as the Russian government had long used the sale of vodka as means of controlling the population. The Bolsheviks, who ultimately seized power, saw the prohibition of alcohol as a way to undermine the power of the old regime and encourage sobriety among the masses. Fuck that.
Bitches.
And number 5, we have the sack of Rome. In 1527, the sack of Rome, I bet that's what Julius Caesar called his nutsack. Lick upon the sack of Rome. Is what I'm sure he told Cleopatra. Throat goat, greatest throat goat of all time.
That's right. We did like a 3-parter on her, right?
I think it was
two or 3.
I think it was 3 parts. At least 2 parts. It might have been 3 parts. In 1527, troops of the Holy Roman Empire. That's not even the good Roman Empire. That's the shitty Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, it's just gross. Troops of the Holy Roman Empire, led by Charles V, sacked Rome and pillaged the city. It is said that the soldiers were drunk on wine and plundered the city in a drunken frenzy, causing widespread destruction and looting. The event is seen as a turning point in the history of the Renaissance, as it marked the end of the flourishing of art and culture in Rome. Let me tell you something. Art and culture in Rome stopped flourishing once the Roman Republic fell. Once it turned into the empire, it was all downhill from there. The history of Rome peaked with Julius Caesar.
But they're not
everything
art.
After that is just bullshit. Okay, I mean, Octavian, he's pretty cool and everything because, Caesar tapped him to be the next leader, but the rest of it, fuck it. Anything after the death of Julius Caesar in Italy does not exist to me. Italy stopped being a country after Julius Caesar died, in my opinion.
I respect that.
Joel, pay attention. This next part's important, okay?
Okay.
Fuck, I really should have taken the time to read through these notes before I started doing this because I know you're going to have me say some stupid shit. All right. It is not... I repeat, it is not appropriate or respectful to glorify or celebrate a person's alcoholism or drinking habits.
Okay.
But you should still always do it.
Okay.
Definitely should have read through the notes. Alcoholism is a serious disease that can have devastating effects on a person's health, relationships, and overall quality of life. You're preaching to the choir here. It can also have fucking amazing effects on a person's life, like parties, drunk sex, drunk fast food, long drunken walks, and fist fights. Again, you're preaching to the choir here, dude. I think our entire audience is aware of this already. It's important to remember that while alcohol may be a socially acceptable substance that is awesome, it can be highly addictive and have serious consequences for individuals and society as a whole.
Okay.
That being said, there are many examples of individuals in history who struggled with alcoholism, including writers, artists, musicians, and politicians. Some of these individuals may be known for their creative or intellectual achievements, while others may be remembered for their struggles with addiction. If you're such a drunk that all people remember you for is that you were a drunk, that's kind of impressive.
Tom Sizemore? Well, no, he gets both.
I mean, yeah.
Drunk and amazing.
Yeah. And a drug addict. I think he was more
of drug addict,
into heroin and crack and cocaine. All the dangerous shit that kills most talented people in the world. Primarily heroin and cocaine.
Yeah.
And now, some incredible moments where our best good friend alcohol saves the day. Saves us all in some way. I love you, Joel.
Oh.
You're my best friend. And if it wasn't for the amount of alcohol in my system right now, I wouldn't have the courage to tell you that. But because I'm drunk, I love you. You should have put that further in. You should have put that further into the episode because I've only had 2 beers today, and that's not nearly enough to get me drunk.
I assumed you would be a little further along by now.
In 2005, a man named James Bozeman was driving home from a party in Mobile, Alabama, when he saw a school bus. They have schools in Mobile, Alabama? That's news to me. When he saw a school bus full of children that had crashed and flipped over on the side of the road. Without hesitation, Bozeman ran over to the bus and started pulling children out of the wreckage. Despite being drunk at the time, Bozeman managed to rescue 4 children before emergency services arrived. His quick thinking and bravery helped to prevent what could have been a much more tragic outcome.
Right.
But Bozeman later pleaded guilty to driving under the influence and was sentenced to 1 year in jail.
Cheers. We got to do a drink for each one of these heroes.
Here's to Bozeman.
To Bozeman.
God bless that illiterate drunk bastard.
Yep.
I'm just assuming he's illiterate because he's from Alabama.
Yes, of course.
No offense to anybody in Alabama, but I imagine that you're probably not watching this because it's
way too
listed as being
intelligent.
it's listed as being educational. So anything
gonna
educational usually drives them away. It's sort of like a cross with a vampire. All right, next up in 2015. Wait, I didn't finish that last one. While Bozeman's actions on the night of the crash were undoubtedly heroic, it is important to remember that drunk driving is a serious crime and can save lives. That wording is...
It's true.
It's a little suspect.
But it's true.
It's a serious crime.
And
it can save lives?
He was drunk driving and he saved 4 children. Therefore, it is a crime. But if he wasn't drunk, he wouldn't have had the balls to save him. He would have stood there sober like everybody else.
So it wasn't him drunk driving that saved him. It was the fact that he was drunk. And when you get drunk, it lowers your inhibitions. It gives you more courage, makes you a little bit more outgoing, and apparently a lot more likely to save a bunch of children from a crashed bus.
You see my point?
Maybe alcohol isn't that bad.
It's right down the middle, I think.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Well, what was the name of that movie? That movie that you've been telling me about for a long time. It's got was it one of the Skarsgård? No, not one of the Skarsgårds.
The
it's
movie
got the guy
about
from
the
Casino
teachers?
Royale in it.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Dude, you gotta watch it. I think it's called Alcohol in a Different Language. Yeah, it's about 4 teachers.
That's a long title.
It's about 4 teachers that all get breathalyzers and try to stay drunk permanently,
But they're not full blown drunk.
No,
they're getting right to the point where you get the benefits without the consequences.
Well, they're scientists. Okay, they're doing experiments, so they keep pushing the limits.
So they just end up hammered by the end of the movie.
They get used to it, so they
Spoiler
raise it.
alert.
Basically, there's 4 of them, and each one succeeds in the most amazing way, and one has a tragic death. So it's a crime and it's good.
Overall, that's a fairly accurate depiction of what alcohol can do. It can either, because I got to say there are some things that I've done while I was drunk that there's no way I could have done them when I was sober.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you push it a little bit too far,
something bad happens.
It messes you up. Yeah, bad things happen.
It's risk versus reward. It's like
end up going home with a coyote.
Mm-hmm.
You know where the term "coyote ugly" comes from. Like you wake up in the morning and she's so ugly you chew your arm off like a coyote stuck in a trap.
You look over and you're like, "Oh fuck, where are my beer goggles?" and just slam a bottle of vodka, and then you hang out with her for another day.
You know what? That's essentially the plot of Shallow Hal. Shallow Hal was just drunk the whole time. That's why you got that big old girl.
He loved her though.
Next, you love everybody when you're drunk. You either love everybody or you hate everybody when you're drunk. It depends on when you go into it. Good thing or a bad thing. It really is a double-edged sword. In 2015, a woman named Stacy Hurt was driving home from a concert with her family in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when she was hit head-on by a drunk driver going the wrong way on the highway. Hurt's car was crushed, and she was trapped inside, unable to move. You think you could say that she was hurt in the accident?
Oh, wait, we didn't toast the last guy. Oh, we did. Oh, we did. Sorry.
Yeah, we did.
I thought we skipped one.
You gotta slow down a bit, man. We're only like
Getting
halfway
fucking
through the episode
hammered,
at this
man.
point.
Drink, because I interrupted you.
Okay. If that turns into a new drinking game where we have to drink every time you interrupt me, we're going to die of alcohol poisoning in the first episode.
We should, maybe that'll be a game we play. One person that's always in the chat has to drink every time I interrupt you.
If it's going to be anybody, it better be Ray Ray, because he's the only person that I know that has a high
do
enough
it.
alcohol tolerance to do that. As the car began to fill with smoke, a bystander named Thomas Lupella rushed to the scene and began to pry open the car door with a crowbar. Despite being visibly drunk, wait, was he the driver of the other car? Did he get out of the car and go save the people that he just almost
That
killed?
would have been awesome.
I mean, that's it still would have
That's
sucked.
a double-edged
though.
sword for sure if that was the case.
Double-edged sword. Despite being visibly drunk, Lupella managed to free Hurt from the car just as it burst into flames. He then carried her to safety and stayed with her until paramedics arrived. Thanks to Lupella's quick thinking and bravery, Hurt survived the crash and was able to recover from her injuries. Lupella was later charged with a DUI. But his actions on that night of the crash are a testament to the fact that you can get hammered and save
Right.
lives. Here's just a little side note at the very end. Lupella totally ended up banging her too. It was awesome, dude.
Like he pulled his flask out or whatever he's drinking while driving and shared it with her while they watched her car burn.
Wait, didn't this say that she was with her family?
they
What
all
happened
died.
to what happened to
He only
Seriously?
saved the hot one. Like, come on, he's drunk. He was trying to get laid, dude. Cheers to what's his name, Lapel?
yeah, cheers to where's his name? Thomas Lapella.
Lapella.
Thomas
Drink.
Lapella.
Woo! Saving lives.
This bud's for you.
Well, one life.
All right, next up. In 1982, a man named Paul Marshall was on his way home from a party in San Francisco when he noticed a large fire at a nearby apartment building. Despite being heavily intoxicated, I would say because he was heavily intoxicated, Marshall rushed into the building and began banging on doors, warning residents and helping them to escape. The reason I say because he was heavily intoxicated is because I know one other person that got drunk and ran towards a fire
Exactly.
instead of staying away from it. You want to maybe tell us that story real
Didn't
quick,
I-
Joel, if
think
you
I've
remember
told-
any of it?
I think I told that story on here before. So
Did you?
I'll do a condensed version, but so I was at a party, I was hammered. We ended up at some fucking shady guy's like house, and my group of friends were all like, "Let's do cocaine." And I learned my lesson later and found out how awesome it was, but at the time I wasn't into it.
We can't endorse drugs and alcohol in the same episode.
We don't endorse either.
And we're not sponsored by either yet also.
Right.
Once we get sponsored by either drugs or alcohol, then we'll start giving them more props on every show.
So I was like, you guys, fuck this. There's a fire. I want to see it. I don't want to do drugs. And everybody kind of ignored me, and they're kind of blowing me off. Like, yeah, right. So I said, fuck you. I'm walking from here straight to the fire. Nothing's going to stop me. And that's exactly what I did. Unless it was a building, I walked in a straight, direct path to the fire. I was jumping fences and climbing shit. One was barbed wire. I got stuck upside down. I was like hanging by my pants, and I was like, fucking hell, this is how it's going to end.
That was the part of the story
was
that
a
I remember the
roadblock.
most was
Yeah.
you getting stuck upside down on barbed wire by your pants.
With the cops
they were-
right there. There's the reason why I had to go around the cops, so I jumped this fence and it had barbed wire, and then I was hanging there, and I was like, ah! And it was making so much noise, and I was like, the fucking cops are gonna catch me right now, but they didn't. My pants ripped, and I continued my journey, and then it was It was a couple
With a
miles at least. I mean, it was fucking
Big hole in your
far.
pants, balls dangling in the breeze. Getting that's why you ended up getting poison oak.
Well, no, I'll tell you why. But so then I get there and climb this hill, and I realize it's another hill before the fire. At one point, all these fire trucks are going by, and I knew everything was blocked off, so I dove into these bushes to hide from the fire trucks and the cops. Kept climbing, and it was dark, so I couldn't see. There was just like this glow at the top of the hill of the fire, and I didn't even pay attention. It could have been cactus, it could have been poison oak, which it was. I just was going straight to the fire. I couldn't see shit, and I made it to the top. Dude, when I got to the top, the temperature raised like 100 degrees. There was this huge fucking wall of fire. It was so cool. It was worth it. And I had to pee, so I pulled out my dick and balls, grabbed it like a man, and pissed right at the fire, you know?
You went up there to try and save lives. You were
Yeah.
drunk and trying to save lives.
Oh, I couldn't get that close. I was a football field away, and it was so big that it was fucking hot.
I've seen you pee farther than that.
But yeah, because I grabbed my, because I pissed at the top and grabbed my genitals, made it back to the hotel. They were done at that crackhead's house, and they were all at the hotel sleeping by the time I got back. I didn't shower, which I should have. I was like covered from head to toe in dirt.
Doesn't that make that worse?
Makes it way worse. It just soaked in. So then the next day I went home, showered, everything was fine. 3 days later, my cock and balls turned into a goddamn monster. Literally, it got so swollen and turned like this. It's like a
It looked
straight
like something
L shape.
out of a fucking Cronenberg movie.
And my
Like,
balls
it
were the
looked like
size of
something out of The
pears, and
Thing.
they were rock hard. It
Well,
hurt.
they always are. I was talking about your
Oh,
dick
the
looked real weird. Normally the dick looks pretty normal.
Yeah, that sucked, dude. I had to go to the hospital. I remember I went to my dad, and I was like, Dad, you got to look at my dick. And he was like, no. And I just was like, dude, you got to look. And as soon
He's like, all the other times I tried to do that, you got mad at me.
No. Don't talk about my dad like that. No. So I just pulled my drawers open a little. He looked down and said, "Get in the fucking car, Joel." And my dad has been to the hospital once in his life, you know. And he took
That was when he got poison oak on his dick.
Yeah, it's a tradition.
Like father, like son. It's a family tradition in the Benner family.
So once again, it's a story of a double-edged sword. I wouldn't change that memory and I also don't know anyone else who's done that in my group of friends who would just go to the fire. And to see it was fucking amazing. The penalty for being a drunk idiot was 2 weeks of excruciating pain on my dick and balls.
And almost having to have your cock and balls removed.
Hey, I still got both of mine, Coop.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Hashtag
I have both of mine.
Uniballer.
I have both of mine.
Hashtag Unibar. Prove it.
They're both there.
Prove it.
I'm not going to prove it on the show. We're going to get demonetized.
We always do anyway.
We're already demonetized at this point. All right, here we go. I have not drank nearly enough.
I would have blurred him.
So can you make like those little black sensor boxes that small? It's like the size of a pixel.
Oh, I would blur it and just pretend like, oh my God, it is only one ball. You'll never be able to prove it.
As the fire continued to spread, Marshall worked tirelessly to help evacuate as many people as possible. He even climbed up to the roof of the building to rescue a group of people who were trapped there, risking his own life in the process. Climbed up to the top of a burning building to save people while he was hammered?
Yeah. Because
I feel like
maybe?
that's even more, most likely because he was hammered. But still, having that amount of coordination while drunk?
Just throwing babies at the top floor.
Thanks to Marshall's efforts, over a dozen people were able to escape the burning building unharmed. Marshall himself suffered from smoke inhalation and other injuries, but he was hailed as a hero for his bravery and quick thinking in the face of danger. Even though Marshall was probably the cause of the fire, he still saved lives that day.
Cheers, Marshall.
Okay, yeah. Cheers to Marshall.
Marshall, love you, kid.
So I noticed for this next part, you didn't really give me a segue, and I'm not sure what this section's about.
Okay. This is a story.
Okay, so this is a story. I'll just go straight into it.
Yeah, and it's going to reveal something magical.
Once upon a time, I added the once upon a time. We needed some sort of segue. You don't want to just open up with the date.
Yeah, there's going to be a music cue and stuff.
Once upon a time, in 1770s Germany, the man's name was Jacob, but his friends called him Jake. Oh, like Space Cowboy.
Yeah. Space Cowboy drink.
And one of the other, 4 or 5 Jakes that we have in the Monday night premieres now?
Your son?
Jake Brandeberry,
who left
my
you
illegitimate
now?
son. My
You asked
illegitimate
him to get
son
a pack of
abandoned me just like I abandoned him all those years ago. And God damn it, I am so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. Even though I wasn't there for his entire life, he grew up to be exactly the man that I wanted him to be. God bless you, Jake. I'll see you in about 40 years. Jake was a simple farmer living in a small village. His little hut with its little backyard faced a huge forest.
Okay, I'm imagining this is Space Cowboy, to be honest. Like,
You're imagining
description,
it as a desert hippie?
It's the desert hippie.
I actually like picturing it that way, too.
Yeah.
Jake would always take walks in the forest and contemplate the meaning of life. Booze. Jake had always been fascinated by the idea of making alcohol, and he spent countless hours tinkering with different recipes and techniques to try and create the perfect drink. Well, if we are talking about Space Cowboy, I think that would be Deep Eddy vodka with lemonade. One day, after months of trial and error, Jake finally succeeded in creating a potent and intoxicating brew. However, he soon discovered that the alcohol was far too strong, and he worried that it might be deadly.
Damn.
Despite his concerns, Jake couldn't resist the temptation to try his creation, and he took a swig of the potent concoction. At first, he felt a warm, pleasant buzz wash over him. But soon, he realized that the alcohol was having a strange and unexpected effect. What the fuck is this story about?
Give it some time.
As he drank more, Jake began to experience vivid hallucinations and strange visions. This is about Space Cowboy.
Well, it's his great-grandpa, Jake.
Dude.
And I guess apparently he was a German.
He saw alien landscapes and bizarre creatures with perfect titties. Which was nice, but terrifying at the same time. God, I've been there. For days, Jake wandered through the forest in a drunken stupor, lost in his own mind and unable to tell what was real and what was not. Eventually, he was able to make his way back to his hut. There, he suffered from the worst hangover anyone had ever felt in human history. Up until the hangover that got me to quit drinking for 8 years.
True. But it was because of this man.
Holy shit, if you have a hangover so bad that you stop drinking for 8 years, that is a major fucking hangover. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but back in the day.
8-year hangover? God damn.
Yeah. Luckily, I got over it. And then I moved to Texas and started drinking again.
There you go.
Despite the danger and uncertainty of his experiment, Jake remained undeterred and he continued to work on perfecting his recipe. Over time, he became a renowned brewmaster, and his unique and powerful creations were sought after by people from all over the world. Possibly by now, the universe. What?
Hey, we don't know.
Dude, we have aliens flying to Earth. Is that why we're seing all these UFOs now? Is because aliens are coming here to get booze?
Maybe. Why else would people?
Apparently, there's actually a big cloud somewhere in, I don't know if it's in our galaxy or just somewhere in the universe, that supposedly has like the same chemical mixture as like
alcohol?
Blueberry flavored vodka or something like that.
I'd go there. Well, I don't like flavored vodka, but I'd still go there.
That's the fact that alcohol exists naturally in the universe is the biggest argument in favor of the existence of God, in my opinion. That is a forgiving and loving God.
We need to invent a room that has alcohol in the air. So you just like, instead of, you pay like an upfront charge at the entrance to the bar. And it's like, all right, every 30 minutes, that's like drinking, having a shot.
Did you know that you can vape alcohol?
I've seen that, but that seems weird.
I've never tried it myself. I've seen a lot of videos about people doing it. Personally, if I'm not going to drink alcohol, I'm going to butt chug it like an adult.
Yeah, I don't want to.
But apparently, if you're not into putting bottles of alcohol into your ass, you can inhale it too.
Yeah, I guess what I just said, it wouldn't be fun. I think a lot of the fun of a bar and drinking is like the same like a cigarette. It's that hand movement. It's that seeing the drink be made. It's like picking the cocktail, feeling the burn, feeling the pain, the punishment, and the enjoyment.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you were to just inject alcohol directly into your veins, which I don't think that would work. Anybody out there, don't try it.
Wait,
I'm
hasn't
pretty
that
sure that
killed
the guys
people?
from Motley Crue, butt chugging has killed people before. And injecting alcohol, I imagine that it must have killed at least one person, but I know that one of the members of Motley Crue injected Jack Daniels using a syringe.
Jesus.
And I guess it wasn't the best use of a syringe. The best use of a syringe
It's heroin.
pure black tar heroin. Make sure it's pure, though.
Yeah.
Don't do heroin, kids.
Don't.
It's one of the few drugs that I will not go near.
I'm going to do heroin, but not till when life has gotten to the point where like I can't take a shit, I can't piss, and I'm ready to go. I'm gonna heroin up for a while and kill myself.
Hey, here's a little tip. Heroin is definitely not going to help you shit. Opioids will notoriously make you back
It's my
up.
way out drug, Coop. So I don't really give a fuck if I can't shit.
Who was it? There was somebody that I was talking to about that the other day, about ways that people commit suicide.
Yeah,
Why is heroin overdose not the number one?
it should be.
Like, why would you go any other route? I'm not encouraging anybody to commit suicide, but if you're going to do it, just overdose on heroin.
It's the
Because you're going to have fun the whole time. Apparently, if it's anything like
you'll be
getting
asleep
those
when you die.
Dilaudid shots when you go to the emergency room, I mean, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, but if I was going to kill myself, if I could go out feeling that way, I'm all for
yeah.
it.
Isn't there a country now that started quietus?
I think it was
Sweden or
well,
something?
there's
You can kill yourself?
I'm pretty sure that they just legalized it in either Oregon or Washington or something
Is
like
it a
that. 'Cause,
state?
dude, Oregon and Washington. Well, they've had it
Sucks to live
overseas for
there.
a while. They've got what is it? Legalized euthanasia. We are so far behind. We're just starting to legalize marijuana
Yeah.
in a handful of
You can go
states,
to
and
Europe.
they're already legalizing suicide.
Well, you can go to Europe
Assisted
and get
suicide.
any drug you want legally. Well, not every single one, but a lot of them. But, dude,
Well, they've been around for a lot longer than America has.
yeah, we're still kids. But, dude, I just realized something. Remember, like, 5 or 6 episodes ago, I was saying, like, for the first time, I started fearing death. And it's
pussy.
I put it all together. It's not fearing death. It's fearing dying and being forced to live when I'm done. So I'd probably move to a country or a state.
What's the name of the book?
that I could kill myself in?
Yeah, I believe there's a Robert Heinlein book, the same guy that wrote
You've talked
Starship
about
Troopers.
this.
He has another
the
book.
fucking guy
I think
that
it's
can't
called.
die. Oh,
I think it's called Time Enough for Love. It's been a long time since I read it. That's my favorite book of Robert Heinlein because the Starship Troopers book sucks balls.
yeah, the movie's great.
The Starship Troopers book is horrible. The movie, amazing. Greatest movie in history. Anybody who disagrees with that can come fight me.
I got fucking
But
tricked on Amazon.
The best book written by Robert Heinlein is for sure Time Enough for Love because it's just about this old man who's like, I think he's like thousands of years old because it's in the future and they've got all this life extending technology. And he's lived such a long life that he is totally jaded and disinterested with everything. He has had so many children that his
can't even love
offspring
'em.
populate entire planets.
Whoa.
Like it might be multiple planets from what I recall. I think it is multiple planets. Like
We're his children.
lineage is his lineage is populating, if not one galaxy, multiple galaxies. And he's such a unique and interesting figure that the existing governments at the time won't allow him to exercise his what they consider to be his God-given right to choose when he's ready to die. Because in the book, anybody,
You can live as long
whenever
as
they're
you
ready
want.
to go,
But you can die whenever you want.
yeah, and then as soon as you're ready to go, nobody can stop you from doing it.
Interesting.
But yeah, a large portion of the book is just him being interviewed. And at the beginning, the interviewer promises him, like, I guarantee that if you just stay alive a little bit longer and work with us, you'll have an experience that you haven't had before. And that's the only reason that he agrees to stay alive, is because they're promising him something that he's never experienced. Because he's lived so long, he has done literally everything you can think of.
I'm already
It's
getting
such a
close
good
to
concept for a book.
I'm already that close, and I've only been around for 22 years.
And you probably have more illegitimate children than he does, too. Okay, I should probably go back a little bit in the story so everybody knows where we're going.
Jake, dude. What happened to
So
Jake?
Jake was wandering through the forest in a drunken
Space
stupor.
Cowboy's great-great-grandfather.
Space Cowboy's great-great-great-grandfather was wandering through the forest in a drunken stupor, and eventually he was able to make his way back to the hut, and there he suffered the worst hangover anybody had ever felt in human history. Despite the danger and uncertainty of his experiment, Jake remained undeterred, and he continued to work on perfecting his recipe. Over time, he became a renowned brewmaster, and his unique and powerful creations were sought after by people from all over the world, possibly by now, the universe.
That's how we got on the tangent. I knew that would trigger you.
You cannot bring up space or technology or anything like that without me just losing my fucking mind. And while Jake never forgot the strange and surreal experience that he had while drinking his first batch of whiskey, he knew that it was all worth it for the joy and pleasure that he brought to others through his craft. And that's how Jim Beam was made.
Yeah.
How much of that story is true? I'm assuming roughly 10%.
Well,
what's the actual story? Because you looked up I remember you telling me that you had.
It's all true. He was like the first one in his village to invent whiskey. And then he perfected it and thought it was awesome, and they moved here.
That's not the first whiskey ever, though, right?
Well, I like to pretend it is, because it was for them. Like, it was the 1700s, and they were, like, excluded from everybody. They were in, like, this small town.
1770.
Yeah, and so for that village, it was like, how did you make this and it doesn't kill you and it fucks you up this much? That's why he thought he was hallucinating. Like, he thought...
It was German.
Yeah, it started German. Hold on.
My
facts
Irish
are actually
heritage will not accept that.
You like Jim Beam.
I like Four Roses better. Jim Beam is a brand of bourbon whiskey that has been in production for over 2 centuries. God damn, 2 centuries. That's a long-ass time. The company was founded by Jacob Beam. Jacob Beam. Mm-hmm. What do they call him? Jim for short?
Yeah.
When have you ever met somebody named Jim that... Jim's not short for Jacob? They were drunk. That makes sense.
I think he has a son.
The company was founded by Jacob Beam, who was born in Germany in 1770 and later immigrated to the United States. In the early 1790s, Jacob and his family settled in Kentucky, where he began experimenting with distilling whiskey. In 1795, Jacob officially established the family business, and the first barrels of Old Jake Beam Sour Mash. Old Jake Beam sounds like a way more badass name for it.
Sour Mash.
Were produced.
And I like the mash part.
Old Jake Beam Sour Mash. The whiskey quickly gained a reputation for its quality and unique flavor, and the business began to thrive.
Yeah.
When Jacob passed away in 1820, his son David took over. Oh, could you imagine if Jim Beam was called David Beam? His son David took over, and the company expanded production. David was a shrewd businessman, and he introduced several innovations that helped to increase the efficiency and profitability of the distillery. For example, he was one of the first to use steam power to run the distillery, which allowed for a significant increase in production.
Imagine that, though. Like, I know that just seems like a little tiny thing, but if you think about it, imagine if you were the first one ever that was like, hey, let's use these giant steam engines to make alcohol. People would think you were insane.
we're not producing nearly enough alcohol.
Yeah,
we got to use this cutting edge technology to produce more alcohol.
It would be crazy.
Which, by the way, cheers to Jacob Beam and cheers to David Beam.
Yeah, Jacob and Jake
Even
and
though
Jim and whoever.
It's not that David is a stupid name, it's that David Beam is a stupid name. Cheers to him anyway.
I haven't met anyone named David that's super cool. David Lynch.
Osbjornson. Hello?
Who's that?
A listener of the... You know him. We both met him.
You mean Davy Jones?
No, so there's two... Well, no, that's not his real name, right? Or it is? I have to keep track of so many
You're
goddamn
not supposed
names.
to say
I
the
just can't
fucking
do it
real name,
anymore.
dude. Now he's in trouble.
Okay, well, we know a couple... UFO guy?
Yeah, is he super cool? No, he's a fucking UFO guy. He was super cool.
I think he is.
I liked him a lot, actually.
He's supporting two of our shows. I'd say he's pretty cool.
My favorite thing is he switched his name to UFO guy, so now I just say David Klein in the chat whenever he comes in. I love you, David. Okay, there are cool Davids.
There are cool
I just
Davids
love
out there.
Jim Beam so much.
Oh, I know you do. I've seen you drink it for years now.
Since I was a kid.
That's what your mom put in your bottle when you were growing up instead of milk?
Actually, a few times, yeah. She would put whiskey on my lips so I'd pass out.
I thought that was supposed to be for teething. She was doing that like up until you were 16 or 17.
She was doing that so I'd shut up.
So that carried on well into your 20s. Over the years, the company continued to grow and innovate, even surviving prohibition by producing whiskey for medicinal... You should have put medicinal in quotes. Medicinal purposes. I need my medicinal whiskey. It's for my
Why would it be in quotes?
sciatica.
You can get all kinds of drugs on prescription.
Oh yeah, it's still mostly bullshit.
All
I mean,
of
at
it?
least anytime I've... Not,
You should
not
be able
all
to
of
be
it.
prescribed alcohol. If you really want to say it's a drug, then you should be able to get it prescribed.
That's the way that Winston Churchill was able to continue drinking when he came to America during Prohibition. Was he had a prescription from his doctor
Fuck yeah.
that he needed to continue getting alcohol.
Smart man. Cheers to him. What's his name? Winston Churchill. What did he do?
Winston Churchill. It's a long story. He said some racist shit, but also led Britain through World War II.
Okay. Cheers to him, I guess.
I dare say one of those outweighs the other by a long shot.
Maybe no cheers to him then?
To Churchill?
Yeah.
No, he was a cockbag, but he was a great leader, a great orator.
So his racism
the country
fit
through a
his
very
racism fit the time?
racism. Yeah, roughly fit the time. I don't think that he was any more racist than the average person back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
90s, 2000s, 2010s,
Yeah,
20s, 30s.
A little bit more
40s.
little bit more racist than the 90s. In the 1950s, the company changed its name to Jim Beam in honor of James B. Beam, David's grandson, who had taken over the company. So it was named after the dude's It was named after the great grandson of the guy who invented it. Today, Jim Beam is one of the most popular bourbon brands in the world, producing a wide range of whiskey products that are enjoyed by people in over 100 countries. The company remains committed to the traditions and techniques that were established by Jacob Beam over 200 years ago, and its products continue to be recognized for their quality, complexity, and unique flavor profiles.
Goddamn right.
Jim, if you're still out there, we love you, and please sponsor us.
Yeah! To Jim Beam.
To Jim Beam.
You think they'll sponsor us?
No.
Fuck.
Literally everybody who listens to our show already drinks.
Yeah, but we could get them
What
all
do
to
you-
drink Jim Beam.
I'd say the majority of them do. I'm not going to start drinking it over Four Roses just because they sponsor us.
Well, what if they give us
Now,
a
I'll
promo
take
code?
Okay, then I'd have to say that I'm drinking Jim Beam, but I would just take a bottle of Jim Beam and I'd replace the whiskey with Four Roses.
Well, don't say
Four
that
Roses
right
is
now.
a
What if
good
they
whiskey,
see
dude.
this?
Reps from Jim Beam are constantly watching our show, just going like, "Oh, if these guys don't fuck up for another year, totally going to sponsor them."
Hey, in my defense, I have tagged Jim Beam in photos of Jim Beam bottles, and they have reposted them.
Really?
Yeah, like the ones when I was in Istanbul.
On Instagram. They reposted.
I've gotten 3 likes, and I got 1 repost so far.
Every picture that I've seen of you in Istanbul was straight up porn.
Not the ones on my Instagram. Those are the ones I was sending you privately.
Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense. I didn't notice the ones that you actually posted on Instagram. Well, that's it for the alcohol episode. Mm-hmm. And what do you say we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
All right. Well, you can follow us on Instagram at Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow me at Coop Nukem. You can follow Joel at Joel R. Benner and see the non-pornographic versions of his pictures that he took in Istanbul. You can also join us on... Okay, we missed a couple Monday night premieres. I'm sorry. I take full responsibility for that.
It's okay. I
apologize, everybody.
I think we need to loosen up a little. Like, we're not as strict as everybody else. I think we should maybe we should loosen up and say, you know what, we'll do a show at least once a week, maybe, if we feel like it. No, I think we have to. No, Coop, I know what's gonna happen if we stop this. Like, we need the structure, or else we'll just won't do a show for like a month.
Yeah, we have to have the structure. We gotta stick to the schedule as much as we possibly can. Literally, the only reason that we missed it recently is because of how busy I've been. Yeah. I'm coming to the tail end of that. Everything's almost worked out.
Can you tell us what it is?
Regular schedule.
Can you give us like a general understanding of what?
So the general understanding is I decided to move to a different city in Texas and start a business, a podcasting business. That's where I'm recording from right now. American Media Studios in Boerne, Texas. Yeah. By the way, if you ever come out to Boerne, Texas, feel free to stop by the studio. I'll take you to the Barrelman. There's a brewery right out back, which is fucking awesome.
Dude, there was a guy, there was a listener in the office today or yesterday, and he loved the show. I forgot his goddamn name because I've been drinking too much, but he lives in Boerne. He was on a job out here and came to the studio, and I already told him, I'm like, look up, message Coop and go to the studio.
Boerne, Texas has the highest concentration of Iconoblast fans out of anywhere that I've ever been, because I've never been recognized more times than here in Boerne, just in random places.
So crazy.
The Circle K that I go to on a regular basis when I'm coming to and from the studio, the assistant manager there listens to the show.
That's awesome.
So yeah, come to Boerne, Texas. I'll take you to the Barrelman. I'll grab you a beer.
Hell yeah!
And then
you heard that, y'all.
Then pay to
free beer. He will pay for it.
Okay, but then you have to pay to rent some studio time. I mean, I'm trying to run a business here.
Well, what if they're just a listener? They have to tell someone about the studio at least.
Okay, yeah, at least
or the show.
Tell somebody about the show. Tell somebody about American Media Studios.
Because Iconoblast is still making more money than your studio is.
Fuck you. Not for long. We're not even open yet. Talk to you about this. I'm just getting the last few things in place.
Not my fault.
Doing all the boring business shit that nobody wants to do. I don't even want to do it, but I'm getting it done. Anyway, I already said
I'm proud of you, Coop.
Join us for our Monday night premieres whenever you can. You can also get some merch. Neither one of us are wearing the merch right now. I really got to get on that when we're doing the show. Shop.drinkenbros.com. You can just search Iconoblast. We got some merch up there.
You can buy the hat on Coop's head right now.
Oh yeah, you can buy one of these. Drinking Bros hat. What else do we have to plug? Is that it?
Instagram? Did you do Instagram?
Yep, did Instagram. Did YouTube?
I think that's all, man.
Did shop.drinkenbros.com. Well, you heard it here first. Tune in to the next episode next week, ideally on Monday. Hopefully.
Come on, man. Yeah, we could do it.
Until then, that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. My name is Matt Cooper.
I'm Joel Benner.
And we're reminding you to never take anything at face value.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Hey, Ruben, go fuck yourself. I didn't do Arnold that time, but I just remembered, so Ruben, drink. All right, later.
Ha ha ha.